If you want to build a better test in half the time, then you're in the right place. Let's go! Let's get right to it. There are two places where you can find today's prompt: in the description below, but also in our school community in the assessment builder section. And we're going to be working with create a new multiple choice exam. And you can see right away at the top, part of the reason why this prompt is so effective is because the tests that it builds is based off of the expertise of the leading researchers in assessment building. In order to use the prompt, we simply need to highlight the entire prompt, copy it with Control C, head on over to ChatGPT and paste it in with Control V. At the top of the prompt, we're going to need to fill in the brackets so that AI has the exact context it needs to build this test. So for class name, we're going to say social studies. Grade level is for, let's do 5th grade. Give some 5th grade teachers some love today. And then for unit or topic, we're going to do systems of government. You'll see as soon as we put in the prompt that it's going to show you a couple of things. First, it's going to ask you to go one concept at a time. Then, when you provide that concept, it's going to provide 4 to 6 multiple choice questions, but here's why the prompt is so effective. It's going to provide different cognitive levels, including recall questions, application questions, and analysis questions, meaning it's far easier to balance the test, especially when it clearly labels Bloom and depths of knowledge levels. For the first concept, I'm going to type in monarchy. Send that prompt through, and you will see it come up with 4 to 6 questions based on monarchy as a system of government. So this first question says, what best describes a monarchy? And you'll notice that right at the top here it says this is a recall question with Bloom based on DOK level 1. Going down to the second question, we go to DOK 1 or 2, where it says in most monarchies, how does a new ruler usually gain power? Now we're in a clear DOK 2 level where it says which situation is an example of monarchy. Now they're having to apply their knowledge. Down to question 4 where we're starting to get in between 2 and 3 and a little bit of analysis. It says which statement best explains the difference between an absolute monarchy and a constitutional monarchy. Going on down to a solid DOK 3, which is purely analysis. Why might some people support a constitutional monarchy? And leading us down to question number 6, where it's synthesis and evaluation, still DOK 3 though, where it says a country wants a leader who represents national traditions but does not make most political decisions. Which system of government would best fit this goal? So you can see from a single concept, we only put in monarchy, it was able to give us lots of questions on multiple levels that test students on many different cognitive abilities. Once it gives us these questions, we as the teacher get to communicate to AI which questions we want to keep. So I'm going to say keep questions 1, 2, and 4. I just made those numbers up, but assuming those were my favorite questions for whatever reason, I put that in and then I tell it to move on to the next concept. So I say next concept is dictatorship and I send that through. It's now going to remember I want to keep questions 1, 2, and 4 so that at the end, when I have all of the test questions I want, it can give them all to me in a nice orderly fashion. And once again, we're getting multiple layers of evaluation on students' cognitive abilities. Taking a look at this first question, which is recall or DOK 1, it says, what best describes a dictatorship? An analysis question, why might a dictatorship lead to fewer freedoms for citizens? And then finally an evaluation question where it asks, a country shuts down newspapers, bans protests, and arrests people who disagree with a leader. Which system of government does this describe? At the bottom, I'm going to say keep questions 4, 5, and 6, and then I'm going to send that through, which then means AI is going to remember this because again, it's all in the same chat and AI remembers the entire chat. So now it shows me on the monarchy section, we have kept questions 1, 2, and 4. On the dictatorship questions, we have kept questions 4, 5, and 6, and now it's asking for the next concept. But let's just say I'm done with the test, so I say show me the entire test. And when I send that prompt through, it's going to go back through and compile the entire test in one convenient location. Here are those monarchy questions. Here are those dictatorship questions. I then simply need to paste it into a Google document, make sure that the questions are accurate, and ensure that it is at the high standard that I hold myself to. One quick suggestion at the very end of this, I like to do some sort of review prompt. So if you want to take a look at one way you can review tests, then take a look at this video. But you could also just do a prompt straightforward. So you could say something like, take a look at the completed tests. Can you give me suggestions for improvement and explain why this would improve the test? Then it's going to give you some ideas, and you can either accept those ideas or reject those ideas, but it might bring up some concerns that you didn't notice as you were building the test. But ultimately, once you walk through this process, you should have a highly effective test in half the time. I'm Luke with Groovy Education, where we have trained over 250 schools on how to responsibly integrate AI. You can hire us in the link below, but you can also take a look at joining our school community. The first 1,000 members get lifetime membership in our community, so join quickly. But if you would, please like and subscribe to this channel so that you can be aware of future videos. But until next time, see ya.